So we have VTY, we set it up for a telnet password, but what we really want to do is we want to set it up for SSH. So to configure this for SSH, what we have to do is, well, a couple things. First, we have to give it a domain name. So, and this is one of the requirements for setting up SSH because we have to build a cryptographic key. So the command is IP domain-name, and I'll put in mine, so 101labs.com. Right. So we have that in place, and then we need to build a cryptographic key. So crypto key RSA, I'm doing it wrong, crypto key generate RSA, and then it wants a modulus size, so mod. And I usually build it out to the maximum modulus size I can, so 2048. Largest size. Default's 1024. The, of course, disadvantage of building a modulus key of 2048 is that it takes a little bit of time to actually build this thing. But one of the requirements I did mention is that you have to have a fully qualified domain name in order to build a key. So without the domain name in place, it would actually create an error. So if I type this command, it'd say, you don't have a domain name set, and you have to set one first. So I did it in the right order. I built a modulus key, and now it's, of course, going to sit here for a little while it actually builds the key. Now that we have a key built, notice the trap message that came back and said that SSH 1.99 has now been enabled. Doesn't mean we can SSH to the box yet, but it means that it's been enabled. One of the other requirements for SSH is that you have a username and a password. So we have to build a username for this device. So I'm going to do username, and I'll use one like this, so admin, and then a secret password for the username of Cisco. All right. So username, admin, secret Cisco, and the advantage of secret Cisco here is that, again, we'll get an MD5 hash of this password if you were to look at it. So if I were to take a look at that, and I'll look at that when I do a show run afterwards, we'll see that that is in fact hashed. The other thing I need to do is on the VTY lines, so line VTY 0 space 15, we need to tell it to use this local username password database for the login prompt. Otherwise, it'll just ask for the line password. So I need to change the login type to local. Okay, now that that's changed, I should be able to SSH into my device. I want to do a show command here. Well, actually, let me save it first. We'll do the show command afterwards. Show running config. From here, here's my username, admin, secret, and Cisco. Notice that Cisco here looks totally different than Cisco here because the salts are different. The random number generated here is very different from the random number generated there, which is part of the security of MD5. So the actual hash portion of this is, again, completely different between these two. All right. So we have our domain name, we have SSH commands that showed up miraculously because we turned on SSH by doing crypto. We can go through, we see our full and duplex and speed commands here. We have our VLAN commands, and then at our interface we have login local turned on here. All right. The other thing is we need to make sure that SSH is enabled at the VTY line. I can do a show line and do VTY 0 and just look at that one. And we see that VTY 0 looks like this, and what we're looking for is whether Telnet and SSH are enabled. So allowed input transports are Telnet and SSH, and output is Telnet and SSH. You could further restrict this by putting the command under the line of transport input SSH, which would essentially disable Telnet as a valid method of getting to this device. Let's go ahead and test this using my my little trick here. So from here, if I go to Telnet, again, remember that this isn't really Telnet at this point. It's actually SSH. Actually, we'll test this while it's doing it. Let's go ahead and clear this and start a new one. Clear that also. All right, so it's starting a new capture. And we'll go ahead and use my Visio diagram to SSH over to it, even though it says Telnet.